Every November, millions of Canadians wear the iconic poppy brooch. It's a symbol that, for Canadians and our allies, immediately reminds us of the sacrifice of our brave soldiers during the World Wars and every conflict since. But poppies aren't a ubiquitous symbol, and the poppy we know and love is uniquely Canadian. Poppies around the world look slightly different than Canada's, or aren't a symbol of remembrance at all. So how did the poppy become a symbol for remembrance of not only Canada, but for all of our fallen heroes? And why does our poppy look different than all the rest? Perhaps the most memorable account of poppies throughout all of military history, but especially out of the Great War as it was called, comes from the famous Canadian physician, author, and poet born in Guelph, Ontario, Lieutenant Colonel John McCrae. Stationed at Ypres in Belgium as a soldier and surgeon during World War I. There he would witness the horrors of the First World War firsthand, and what he saw there would inspire his poetry. Although he supposedly discarded the poem he would eventually become famous for at first, his fellow soldiers found it and urged him to keep it. The immortal lines "In Flanders fields the poppies blow, between the crosses row on row" are now ingrained in all of our memories. Even during the First World War, his poem was widely circulated and highly acclaimed. McCrae's poem was published in Punch magazine in December of 1915, and he even lived long enough to see much of its success. Canada at the time was a dominion, and its decision to join the war was made outside of our government's control in British Parliament. In an effort to inspire Canadians to enlist and contribute to the war by purchasing war bonds, McCrae's poem was featured in all manner of posters and propaganda. Although McCrae would not survive the war, his poem became synonymous with solemn remembrance long after it throughout the British Empire. The iconography of the poppies would endure as well. Even today, poppies continue to cover the tombs of known and unidentifiable World War I soldiers across Belgium. Canadians and Brits alike fiercely adopted the symbol that they were first introduced to in 1915, and it has become a uniquely Commonwealth tradition that to this day outlines a serious point of contention with America. Part of the reason that Americans haven't clung to the poppy nearly as adamantly as Commonwealth nations is the fact that In Flanders Fields was written almost 2 full years before America entered the war. For Canadians, our allies, and Commonwealth countries alike, the symbolism is actually twofold, in part representing the fact that Canadian soldiers and Commonwealth soldiers endured the horrors of the First World War in its entirety. Somewhat ironically though, the first poem inspired an American teacher named Moina Michael to always wear a poppy as a continual sign of remembrance. In 1920, a French woman named Madame Guérin learned of the custom Moina had started and decided to make and sell poppies in order to raise money for the widows, orphans, and children left in war-torn areas of France. This is what the first Remembrance Day poppies looked like. In 1921, the predecessor to the Canadian Legion, the Great War Veterans Association, officially adopted the poppy as its flower of remembrance. It's the fact that different organizations adopted the practice in different ways, in different countries, at different times, that we have so much variation in what poppies look like. To most Canadians, poppies have 4 red felt and plastic petals, with a black center and a single pin in the middle. But in Newfoundland, which was not yet a part of Canada in World War I, the forget-me-not is their own sign of remembrance. In New Zealand, poppies are made of red paper with 2 petals and a distinctive black button in the middle. In New Zealand, poppies aren't distributed or worn on Armistice Day on November 11th, but rather on Anzac Day. This is because in 1921, a shipment of poppies was delayed, and they were unable to adorn their poppies in unison with the rest of their allies as a part of Remembrance Day. In England and Wales, it's the Royal British Legion that distributes their poppies. Theirs are made out of paper as well, but feature a unique green leaf that makes them stand out, and are made by a year-round team of 50 veterans. But Scotland too has their own design, which looks like this, combining the plastic felt and four-petal design of Canadian poppies with the black button of New Zealanders, and adding a distinctive concave shape and corrugated edge, all made in Lady Haig's poppy factory. But wherever you wear your poppy, no matter what it looks like, and although the symbolism has extended to remember far more brave souls than all those lost in World War I, the origins are the same, and we all wear our poppies with pride, solemnity, and remembrance.